Seconds Out, sponsored by Gencor, science-backed wellness and skincare. Click the link below.
This is Andy Purewell for Seconds Out, sponsored by Gencor Global. Delighted to be joined by Adam Smith here after the post-fight press conferences have taken place. Adam, a great night of boxing here in London, and that main event, George Liddard coming through a very tough test in Tyler Denny. How did you see that main event?
Look, I thought the whole night was fantastic, Andy. It was a terrific one from start to finish, really. Some really good performances, some cracking fights. Lely's fight was unreal. Yeah, look, it was a good night of matchmaking, and I think the main event lived up to expectations. I thought in the first couple of rounds I was worried for Tyler. I thought George might get rid of him. He hurt him early, but wily old fox, the knowledge that he has, former European champion, he's always gone in as the underdog. Tyler Denny, I know he worked really hard for this fight. He was very confident beforehand, and I wondered if that would just ebb away, but he didn't. He stuck with him. It wasn't always pretty, but it was effective. He won rounds in there, but I thought George finished really well and pulled it out down the stretch. So yeah, a worthy winner. Whether it was by 4, it was certainly a comfortable win in the end, but Tyler, yeah, I thought the scores were sort of hard because Tyler didn't get any sort of, by 4 on all 3. I'd like to see him maybe a little bit closer, but the right guy won. George defends his British and Commonwealth middleweight titles in an educational, tough fight, as it should be. He's 23. He's got that wonderful smile. He's a great personality. He sells bundles of tickets, and the show moves on. I think he'll look back at that and think he got hit a bit too much. He let Tyler come back into the fight maybe when he didn't need to. But give Denny credit. He's one tough guy, and that lack of power I think is always an issue for Tyler Denny, and maybe that was a factor tonight. But I thought George had the eye-catching punches. I thought the quality was with George more than it was with Tyler, and that's why he won. Right guy won.
Jimmy Sains, a stablemate of George's, came through another tough test on his own right. A lot of people online maybe thinking he's slightly edged for favour way, like a 6-4 type fight either way. How did you see it?
Yeah, very close, very close. I thought Derek boxed really well, smothering Jimmy at times, just nullifying his work. I thought when Jimmy had room and got that jab going and the skills that he's learnt at the Repton, I thought he looked really good. But at other times, I thought the work rate, the hustle, the bustle, the energy, he was non-stop. We know these fighters in Nottingham like Echo Esserman as well, and I think Derek's had a stop-start career. I actually chatted to his sister before the fight, and she said he's put everything into this camp, and I think he could be a bit unlucky again. It was close, but Jimmy just again probably pulled it out in the last couple of rounds. It was one of those, and I think it's that fitness, that core fitness that Tony Sims installs in his fighters, that dedication. You can see it with both George and Jimmy tonight. They sort of needed that at the end, and as Eddie said at the press conference, he probably needed those last couple of rounds. So yeah, very, very close, but Jimmy Sains will learn a lot from it, and I think he'll be disappointed with that performance. But yeah, look, he was in with a guy who really wanted it, and is a tough, apart from the Denzel Bentley defeat, has done really well in his career. And yeah, I like the matchmaking tonight. There's no point these young prospects just bowling over fighters, and now they're English champions or British champions. They've got to have good competition. So it's hard for Eddie because he wants his guys to move forward, but he's got to put them in decent matches because that's what the crowd want to see. But I thought, look, the star of the show tonight was Giorgio Vizioli. I think he's a fantastic fighter. I've watched him for a long time. I think he's a beautiful craftsman, terrific skills, great IQ. I think he's a fighter that's going to go a long way. He's 22. He's got a great team around him. Very, very mature for his age. I thought it was a punch-perfect performance, maybe bar getting a stoppage. And I like Levi Giles. I've liked him for a long time. Good, honest pro. And, he stood him on his head from start to finish. That was a great performance.
Away from all things this card tonight, last night, Michael Conlan falling short. A lot of people online, again, it wasn't the most entertaining of fights, but a lot of people felt that he'd maybe done enough to have his hand raised. Subsequently, he's retired on the back of that defeat. Just your take on the fight, and obviously what has been a brilliant career, both amateur and pro for Michael, even though he maybe never quite reached the pinnacle of becoming a world champion.
Star quality, icon in Belfast. Carl Frampton said the best fighter to come out of the city, naturally talented wise anyway, but no, he never got his hands on a world title. I think at the beginning when he turned over, it's funny actually because he sort of went off the amateurs on that controversial display to the judges, and he went off last night in a bit of a controversial manner too, in the fact that we all thought he won at ringside. But look, it was a poor fight, and well done Kevin Walsh. You know, he came over and he had a great story behind him. He's turned his life around through boxing. We didn't think he won the fight, but look, he got the decision, and he can go on with his career. And Mick, maybe it was a sort of blessing in disguise, the fact that he sort of won but didn't, and maybe realised that he didn't have what he once had. I thought actually when he boxed southpaw, he looked really comfortable. I didn't know why he was switching so much. He just sort of wasn't listening to Grant Smith. He was almost in his own world, and maybe the combinations just weren't flowing. And I thought the legs were good, but maybe he just didn't have that flow anymore, or the confidence. But listen, he's been boxing since he was 7. He owes us nothing. He's been really entertaining all the way through in some fantastic fights. You know, really, he'll be known as one of the fighters never to win a world title, which probably should have done, but a great amateur. Yeah, a great character in boxing, and let's hope he stays around the young kids. He's 34 years old. Hopefully he's made some decent money and he stays in the sport, because we need people like Mick Conlan. But yeah, I enjoyed the ring walk and everything as always. But yeah, the fight was poor, and we just say well done on his career. And yeah, but we'll be back in Belfast. There's some great young fighters. There's some good talent on the card. And yeah, it's been a busy weekend.
Just a couple of fights to wrap up on, Adam. Wilder-Chisora. A few years ago, if that was spoken about, you'd have probably been laughed at. But now here we are. The trajectories of both careers have meant that they've both come together now. What do you expect to see come the beginning of April?
I can't believe they haven't fought before. I mean, it's sort of mad, isn't it, to think that in their 50th fight each, they finally meet. It's a cracking event. It's a mad sort of heavyweight fight, which could produce anything, Andy. I mean, it's going to be thrilling to be there. Chisora's ring walk is always iconic, and if it is for the last time, get down there, enjoy it, watch it on the zone. Deontay Wilder is always not just a character, the bronze bomber, but capable of knocking anyone out at any stage. But again, what does he have left at this stage? Derek looks like he's got a bit more momentum. I think if Chisora wins this fight, he will go on. But if Wilder wins this fight, you know, he'll want to try and get back in the ring with a Tyson Fury, or maybe even fight an Usyk. Listen, it's a big fight. There are many big fights coming up in the heavyweight division. Next week, Moses Atama, Jermaine Franklin. Then you got Chisora Wilder, Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, an absolute firecracker on May the 9th. And then, of course, Alexander Usyk in the strange sort of fight against Rico, the best kickboxer of his generation. So, yeah, intriguing stuff coming up. Also in Paris as well for Lawrence Okoli and Tony Yoka. So yeah, I love it when the heavyweights are flying, and they really are. So there's just so much to look forward to. But yeah, Wilder and Chisora, something's going to happen in fight week. It can't be as tame as it was at the press conference the other week. There's got to be more edgy nerves. I mean, they respect each other, but yeah, they're going to get in the ring and provide fireworks and war. And that O2 is going to be absolutely bouncing come April the 4th.
One to round off on, and you mentioned Alexander Usyk. What have you made of his newfound friendship with Anthony Joshua? Obviously, the pair of them out in Ukraine now.
I love it. You know, I've spent a lot of time with Alexander Usyk, as you know, not just following his career, but inside his camp. And you know, I've got nothing but the most incredible respect for him. I think he's a phenomenal fighter, a wonderful man, and to take a former foe like AJ under his wing. I think it's real credit to Anthony as well. You know, he went over there and he took his boxing bag and gloves and boots and sort of went to Gandia, and I know what it's like there. I know what a setup they've got, how phenomenally hard they work, and I think AJ just realised that coming back and having another few fights, he's going to need something. You know, he had Ben Davison, one of the great trainers in boxing, but maybe he felt that he would go into almost enemy lines and learn off the best. So it's really brave of AJ, and it's really good of Alexander, and I think it's fantastic. It's wonderful to see, especially after everything that Anthony's been through in the last few months, to see him smile again and to see him happy around the arguably the best fighter of his generation. And not just the best fighter, Andy, one of the best human beings, is great to see.
Well, Adam, it's a pleasure as always. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Thanks for speaking to me in Seconds Out.
A pleasure, Andy.
Seconds Out, sponsored by Gencor, science-backed wellness and skincare. Click the link below.